In a world where trailers are consumed on little rectangles and studios do reshoots for the entire film based on internet trolls' reactions, an era stood tall as the peak of trailer experiences. The 2000s. Coming up next on Least Important Things, the best... I can't even... That is hard. Coming up next on Least Important Things, the best 2000s trailers.
So much tea. Oh my
Rated R. Welcome to a podcast called Least Important Things, a show about movies, friendship, and finding meaning in the most important of the least important things. I'm your host, Luke Ferris. In today's episode, we are discussing the best movie trailers of the 2000s. Joining me today to discuss these trailers is Zach Hall. My friend, welcome to the show.
Aw, thanks, Luke. I'm just really happy to be here. This is a really important time for me. A very important decade, formidable. So I'm really excited to be able to hash this out a little bit. I apologize though. I think I'm gonna get a little big brained here, so I apologize to your viewers. Hopefully
it's gonna get emotional. It's gonna get emotional.
Maybe.
Well, Zach, I know we're gonna be talking about the oddies, the 2000s. It's a special time for many out there, but I wanted to talk about a trailer from a different era, and maybe we'll do an episode one day on it. That is really important to me. Zach, this is a very important era of movie trailers historically, which we might mention in our context, but this trailer specifically is important to you and I for reasons that you'll find out here in a second. I just wanted to give the audience a little taste of a trailer that's near and dear to our hearts.
Yes.
A solitary, lonely figure walks at night down a silent street in Berlin. His name is Quiller. But he is not alone. What do they want of Quiller? What does Quiller want of them?
With them.
This man knows, but he won't talk. Not ever again.
Oh, great framing.
There it is.
He's dead. Another colleague of yours took over from him, Kenneth Lindsay Jones. Mm-hmm. He's dead too.
He's dead too.
Days ago. We'd like you to take over.
The Quiller Memorandum, adapted for the screen from Adam Hall's world bestseller, is now a taut and tensely exciting thriller. The top stars of Europe and America have been cast for their suspenseful international roles.
Don't.
America's George Siegel as Quiller. Britain's Alec Guinness as Pole. Sweden's Max von Sydow.
My name's October.
October. A name
Oh,
to
yeah.
match the man.
You need to relax.
Dude, those scenes.
Bleak,
That boss of yours, what's his name?
terrifying.
Open your eyes.
Begin your eyeballs, Quiller. Can you hear me? Begin it!
Yes.
They want a Quiller.
Oh, you got to keep this run into the.
What does Quiller want
What is
of
Quiller
them?
want for them?
Austria's Senta Berger as Inge. She's very beautiful.
Very, very beautiful.
Very, very afraid. of Quiller.
Very, very afraid.
Man, it is it's a short film, these
George
trailers.
Sanders as Gibbs.
I love it.
The Quiller Memorandum, Zach. Wow.
Yeah.
For listeners and viewers, that was the trailer to the 1966 movie, the action spy thriller, The Quiller Memorandum. When did we first come upon that trailer? It was when we were first getting to know each other.
Yeah, we were doing pre-work on a video, and you were doing a bunch of research, I think, about
That's right.
spy movies. Yeah, and then I just looked over your shoulder, and you were just watching this thing. And we never even watched the movie until like what year was that? Probably over 15 years ago now.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
yes.
yeah, probably 2011, 2010 maybe.
Yes.
And then we didn't watch it till like last year, 2 years
Yeah,
ago?
yeah, 2 years ago. But that's a trailer that stands near and dear to our hearts. And for even more inside baseball, I think 3 years ago we were talking about it and trying to figure out the title of the movie. And because we couldn't remember because it had been over a decade. So we spent like 30 minutes on a Zoom just trying to figure it out. And we finally found it. But it's just a great memory, a great trailer, and great context for the conversation today, because I think this is a good setup of what trailers used to be. So in the 60s, when trailers really started to become a thing, this is what they used to be. It was kind of goofy, zany, disjointed. They explained the entire plot of the movie, all the characters, and then had sometimes like scenes of the movies in the middle of the trailers. Far cry from what we're going to talk about today, but again, a good context setter of the transformation of this genre. Yeah, it's a great movie, by the way. Great watch. You'll have a fun time.
Yeah, and I think also it is hokey in a lot of ways, but it also is trying new things. I think we have to respect that, and maybe that's why it's really applicable to what we're talking about today, is because it does try. There's like 3 phases to that. It's a 3-minute trailer. Three phases to that 3-minute trailer, and like 2 of them are kind of like these interesting repetitive things. They started off, they do like something in the beginning, and then at the end there's also some cool stuff. So I think that's also kind of like what we're going to be exploring today too, right, Luke? Like just seeing exactly how the 2000s were so transformative about trailers. I'm really excited to like get into that. I think that's going to be kind of cool. Hopefully people appreciate it.
Yes. What does Quiller want of them?
Wants a good quality movie trailer.
Of course he wants trailers. Before we dive into the discussion, whether it's your first time listening or watching, or you're a friend of the show, thank you for watching and listening. Please remember to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast or on YouTube so you don't miss an episode dropping every Tuesday. You can connect with the show at leastimportantthings.com. Email us at leastimportantthings@gmail.com. TikTok, Least Important Things, and you can connect with me on Instagram at Luke H. Ferris or on Letterboxd at Luke H. Ferris. You can connect with Zach also on Letterboxd. That's Zach Hall with 1 H. I looked that up.
1 H. Oh, did you? Yeah, I set that up and probably thought that was going to be fun in some way, shape, or form.
It is fun.
To have double
It
H's,
is fun. We also have a Patreon where you can become a free member to receive email alerts when a new episode is released, video updates, exclusive conversations, and additional information about the episode. Maybe I'll drop the Quiller trailer in the Patreon for friends that want to watch it all. You know,
Dude, yeah.
Just watch it over and over again. And for the same price as a cup of coffee or a pint, you can become a friend of the show and get a Least Important Things sticker. I'm trying to find a sticker. There's one. Nope.
I
there
imagine
it is.
they're just all on your desk, like
Yes. A sticker.
ready to ship.
Ready to go. You also get a special note from me thanking you, and you'll get exclusive content and more special surprises to come. Supporting the show helps cover the cost of our production tools and helps us make more episodes. So visit patreon.com/leastimportantthings. That's patreon.com/leastimportantthings to learn more. And most importantly, this is an indie podcast, so the best way you can help the show is by reviewing, recommending, and sharing it with somebody. So please, whether you're catching up with family on the phone or talking during the trailers of a movie, please recommend Least Important Things. All right, Zach, we've discussed movie trailers before on a past podcast called Two Beers, Two Nerds, where we shared our mutual affection for the art of the trailer and how it can provide excellent thrills, excitement, and is just really an integral part of the movie-going experience. I think we all have memories of like sitting down in a movie theater, seeing a trailer, whether you're giving a thumbs up, thumbs down to the person you're seeing with, or just excited because that movie's coming out. I think it's integral in what we do every day. But today, I want to do a twist and cover a specific era that saw the most dramatic change in how movie trailers are made and distributed, the 2000s. Zach and I have organized 5 categories of movie trailers that define the 2000s. We'll break them down and discuss what they mean to us as movie fans and humans, as well as context of the trailer's impact on cinema. But before we get to our categories, let's break down the difference between trailers, teasers, social posts, whatever, etc., because I think it helps frame the context and how they've actually changed as we go into the millennium, the 2000s. So teasers are often released before trailers, typically always. They often happen while the film is still in production. Like sometimes they're still shooting or they're still editing when they come out because they're teasing what's to come. This has really become popular during the blockbuster boom of the 70s, most notably the original Superman, Jaws, Star Wars. You can actually watch the Star Wars teaser and it does not feel like Star Wars. It's just like a slow zoom in of the title of Star Wars with the narration and just space. It doesn't feel like Star Wars, but it was because it was a teaser. And most recently, you can see how the teaser is used with Christopher Nolan's Odyssey, which is a true teaser trailer. They're still filming. Everyone knows that. And it's not anything clear of what's going to be in the movie. It's just a few shots and some narration and the date the movie's going to come out. It's just a glimpse without giving really nothing of the plot away. And Chris Nolan is really continuing that traditional teaser trailer, I guess, art form alive. And traditionally, trailers, what we're talking about today is it's a sales tool. It's about marketing the movie. And depending on the film, they can have 2 to 3 different versions leading up to the film's release. It's not as clear as it used to be because they were released typically in theaters or they would make cuts for TV. Now with the internet, it's all kind of smashed together. But typically they do 2 to 3 leading up to the film. But sometimes those trailers change in theme and tone based on the audience, who they're trying to sell to. Most recently this past summer, Jurassic World Rebirth and Superman, the first and second trailers were very different. We covered it here on the show with Jurassic. I did not like the first trailer. The second trailer I loved. I was like, oh, that's the movie I want. But it just depends on what happens, how the studios are seeing the films. A lot of times fan reactions too. One of the most famous ones is that I kind of mentioned in the cold open is the video game movie. What was that? Not Spyro. The guy who runs.
Mario?
Nope. He's a rodent.
Oh, Sonic. Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, the Sonic.
Yes.
Yeah, you're
Yes.
talking about Sonic Teeth, the Sonic Adventures.
Yes. Most recently, the Sonic movies, when the first trailer of the first Sonic movie, the most recent animated movie came out, his face looked a little funky, I guess is how I describe it. Fans reacted poorly. They went back and spent a lot of money reanimating the look and feel of Sonic. So, and it can actually be that's a good example of a trailer obviously having a negative reaction, the studio and the filmmakers changing it, and they've made 2 or 3 sequels since then. But again, the lines are blurred about what trailers are today compared to the era we're going to talk about, and I think we'll share why that started to happen, because trailers now launching are part of a huge multimedia plan from when they're released. Sometimes they're at San Diego Comic-Con to an exclusive crowd, and then they come out later. Sometimes it's through social media, through web marketing. It's just all part of this marketing tactic. So it's not you sit in a theater during Christmas and there's your blockbuster summer trailer and you had no context of it. Now we just know what's going on a lot more. So trailers are just embedded as part of that marketing tease for a movie to come out. So that's really kind of where we get. It's a snapshot of what trailers are. Zach, do you have any context to add to that?
Yeah, I think you and I both look at it from a very specific lens because of our backgrounds too. And I think in areas of marketing, communications, advertising, anything like that, you are working, and I think we're going to have a pretty strong thesis here about the 2000s, about what the era was doing from a technology standpoint, from, a social standpoint, and how that's reflected in just trailers themselves, how they're trying to meet the audience where they are and how they're evolving. And that's really kind of a big thing. I think the idea of this decade is very important, I think, for our generation and the generations that are following us, a very digital generation and a very marketing and advertising focused generation. I think we're going to see some pretty important things as we point out different movies about that really did change the game. So yeah, I think overall it's a really great decade to focus on, specifically about these kind of terms, I guess, and these themes. So
yeah. And the terms teaser and trailer are used interchangeably. They are technically different, but we're going to mention both of them today. We'll have teasers that we mentioned over trailers over teasers. So we'll use those interchangeably today. Before we dive into our 5 categories, I want to talk about some honorable mentions because there's so much we could talk about. There's so many trailers. But I want to really talk about first probably the most famous line in trailers is the "in a world" narration, which really was something that came into the 90s and into the 2000s. And it really laid the groundwork of that transition that we're going to talk about today. You can see this satirized most notably in the Comedian trailer, which is the Jerry Seinfeld documentary, where the voiceover specialist, Hal Douglas, is doing a bit on, it's not this type of movie. You don't need to have the in a world. And Hal's voice is also used in The Holiday, which I think is a great example of, well, one, it's an actual trailer editor. I think that's probably the only movie where the trailer editor is one of the main characters.
I do love that so much. It's such a nice, for a film nerd and someone who does this stuff, it's such a nice add to it kind of breaks the fourth wall sometimes.
Amanda Woods, welcome back.
Turn around.
Well, it does because Hal's narrating, because Cameron Diaz's character is editing movies with Hal's narration of In a World, his narration is playing in her head as she's sorting through this big life change crisis, staying in a cozy cottage in rural England. And I want to give a shout out also to Don LaFontaine as well. He's one of the great voiceover pros who he really, I think, started using that In a World format, but you can learn a lot more about him. He's just got another one of those fantastic voices that you hear throughout the 90s into the 2000s, narrating some of the biggest movies and that we associate with movie trailers today. So I want to shout out those 2 voiceover specialists. Obviously, there's many more, but I think those 2 were really the ones that we all know and love.
Yeah. And something else I wanted to recognize is I think what we're going to be talking about in our 5 categories, there's not a lot of comedies that fit in these categories. And I think that's because comedy trailers have kind of followed its own, it will fit into one of our categories, I'd say, but it always kind of flows in the same category every decade. There hasn't been a lot of evolution there. It's not really the genre that's trying to push change and trying to, tilt the scales and try something new. But I do want to recognize the idea of the red band trailer in the 2000s. So
what is a red band trailer, Zach, for those who don't know?
That's awesome.
Is it just there's a red band, like it's the red ring of death for Xbox 360? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's exactly,
there's another 2000s reference.
It's definitely telling you, hey, if you are not of a certain age, you shouldn't proceed watching this.
Yes.
If you're stuck in a movie theater and you are under the age of 18, I don't know why you're in that movie theater, because they normally didn't play for movies that were PG-13 or under. It was usually for R-rated movie trailers. Yeah, the very first one that I saw was for Hamlet 2 when I was 17, 18. And I remember seeing it flashed on the screen. This was probably 2006, 2007. And I was like, I don't know what this means, but it really is just
because there actually
warning.
was red. It's a red, red, it's the preview screen, but it's red.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's even one that's a yellow band trailer, hey, warning. It's not used that often, but red band trailers were kind of started in movie theaters, usually shown before a rated R or NC-17 movie. You can trace it all the way back to a movie called The Rules of Attraction in 2003. This movie, on as you love to talk about, on the VHS cover, looks like a rom-com, Luke. It is definitely something that I watched this actually. It's a black comedy, if anything, and it's really, not to get too deep into it, they had to actually make a red band trailer so they would get the right audience to come to that movie, because it's actually based off of a book from the same guy who wrote American Psycho, and it's in the same world as American Psycho.
Right. Okay. So very different than just an early 2000s or rom-com or teen movie or coming of age story.
Exactly. And I think that's really important. I fell prey to that. So I watched this movie thinking it's going to be a rom-com. I can just have a glass of wine and enjoy a night. Instead, I was deeply disturbed and multiple times just came in with the wrong expectations. And I think that's one reason why you have red band trailers to actually set those expectations. It got really, really important to have those, not only in the early 2000s, but in the later 2000s in the digital era, as things could go online. And you actually saw a bunch of red band trailers start popping up towards the end of the 2000s. So I think that's my honorable mention, is actually just the comedy genre did have a little bit of evolution there with a different type of trailer entirely, where you see a red band trailer having more, they're not going to show like all the violence and gore, but they will give you more sneak peeks of that in a red band trailer, the stuff that honestly younger audiences, even if it is a trailer, shouldn't be exposed to. But back then the internet was more like for adult themes, even though children could look at it, could watch any of these. They were
it was very different.
accessible.
Like we have to remember, you couldn't like just grab your phone and watch a trailer on YouTube. Like you had to go on a desktop or a laptop, and it was more adult, and that's why horror movies would have red band trailers that eventually just went online, because it was like, okay, I want to see more of this franchise reboot that's going to do some really dark things. Like I want to see more of the Rob Zombie Halloween trailer that's getting really dark, and you can only show that to a mature audience. It's a really fascinating change, because now we just are so desensitized to everything, and everything can be accessible all the time. But back then it was very specific in how they had to show. And to be fair, a lot more legal issues that they had to go around. That's the whole idea, that they would have a red band trailer.
Exactly. And it did contribute to the success of some really good underground comedies. I mean, like Hamlet 2, I don't think anybody would have watched. And not very many people did watch it. But I think Superbad is one that really benefited from having a red band trailer.
Yes.
So you could see exactly what that comedy was about, what those jokes and how they landed how they impacted an audience before they even walked into a movie theater. So I just, as an honorable mention, want to throw that out there, ping some people that might remember their favorite red band trailers back in the day. For Your Honor, there was a one with, I don't know, there's some that come out in my head all the time. I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that red band trailer. So yeah.
Also, you brought up Superbad, which is a great trailer. I remember seeing that trailer, and that movie was just synonymous in the halls of my middle school. Superbad is a trailer that has superbad.com. See more at superbad.com. So that is, and you'll see the websites on trailers even in the 90s, like the AOL. Find more on AOL.com, but Superbad, to have its own superbad.com, see more, where you get more of the adult content. So early on with a movie like Superbad, that is all about youth driven, about young people, that is a raunchy teenage comedy, is using the internet as another tool to market the movie. Another honorable mention that we have to mention when we talk about the 2000s, 2002 Spider-Man, a trailer that was really started to become famous in lore post the movie coming out, was this original trailer that included Peter Parker as Spider-Man on the Twin Towers, because famously, this movie was shot, created all before September 11th. They had to go back, reshoot a bunch of things, because those iconic towers were a part of the movie. But you can actually watch that trailer online now and see the towers, and it's just a reminder of wow, what a time in that early 2000s, and how things changed so quickly. And Spider-Man is one of those movies of this decade. At the beginning of the decade, really changed superhero movies, but also was a New York movie, and that movie was affected by that event because of the production, but also it's one of the most famous superheroes set in the city of New York. So shout out to the Spider-Man original trailer that wasn't released.
And even until I was researching stuff, I didn't even see that Spider-Man trailer. To be honest with you, I didn't know a lot about 9/11 and how that really did center on that movie and impacted it. But even for this trailer, it is not even taking scenes from the film. They shot something specifically, and they had to just throw it out because of national events. So it's pretty pretty interesting, and pretty kind of like a catalyst for some other stuff we see later down the line, I think, in trailers. So,
all right, let's move on to our categories. We're going to start with the first category. I'm calling this the classic Hollywood. So this is a big movie. This is really where we're showing the evolution of the 90s, the inner world stuff. This is big movie stars. But things are starting to change once we get into the 2000s. We have fast fades, flashes, a lot of needle drops. This is where music is playing a huge element. Not necessarily even music that's in the movie. It is additionally purchased movie music to add to the movie trailer. So you have a lot of times you'll have a mixture of that narration and movie dialogue. The song meshes the genre. So all that stuff starts to happen and creates this standard viewing, this big budget. Hey, we got the biggest movie stars. We have the music. Get excited about this movie. Mr. and Mrs. Smith is a very interesting movie. There's so much there. But from just a trailer, I think this is the best definition if we're thinking of classic Hollywood 2000s movie trailer. We have narration. We have the stars. We have quips. We have the plot, we have everything, and you have Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie going after it in this spy romantic comedy that I think set the stage culturally for the audience. Just with the movie, the relationship, and everything that's going on, it is big star Hollywood.
From the director of The Bourne Identity,
Come on, sweetheart. Come to daddy.
Who's your daddy now?
Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie,
Still alive, baby?
Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
You know that you're ticking.
yeah, I do love that movie. I love that trailer too, and it does. It's not. I think with this category specifically, the classic Hollywood category, you are getting essentially years of experience in this marketing of this content. Is really culminated to the classic Hollywood category that we're talking about. It is really setting up a standard viewing proposition to set up the audience expectations. It borrows in a lot of familiar things that even the Quiller Memorandum trailer used.
Yes.
But they
Well,
do...
yeah, because they say, here's the movie stars, here's who they're playing. Now, they don't necessarily say that in this. They give us with the context, but it's still Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, like in your face.
Yeah, there's some type of hero shot in that film where Alec get us looking over his shoulder, light it, but Brad Pitt with that gun, just ready for the next bad guy to come off screen to attack. I think it's familiarity it's familiar to us, exactly what this movie is. It is something that we can easily ingest and process as that minute and a half trailer comes up. Especially back then, early 2000s, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, internet isn't showing trailers as often. They don't go on the internet as often still. So where you see a movie is in the theater, and you need to ingest as much of information as possible to get that interest, to be like, oh, you have these big name stars, it's action, there's a little bit of comedy at the end of this, I love it, and it also seems to be really trendy with this cool music.
Yes, the outfits, sexy, all those things that you would want, and it's a general audience, right? They're trying to make it as general as possible because they need to get butts in seats. So it totally makes sense. We might need to cover this to do a rewatch of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I think this is a movie that's better than people remember, or maybe
okay. Yeah, I love the TV. I am open to it. I will definitely say that. I'm definitely
Zach's
open to it.
Oh no, here we go again.
I know. I watched the TV show and I loved it. It's a little bit more current and trendier and attacks some more modern themes, I think, about millennials trying to fit into this relationship. But no, I I totally get it. I remember watching it as a kid and having fun, but it is something I need to rewatch. So I'm down. Let's do
You
it.
definitely need to rewatch it. You hear only at least important things where you say, I think I need to rewatch Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
That's the only way you're gonna get me to do it. Yeah.
Well, we've done worse for you, my friend. So
That's good. That's
continue to go down the rabbit hole.
I've got my own plans. Don't worry.
Oh,
I've got
okay.
my own plans,
We got some plans. All right.
Yes.
Another movie that really fits this classical Hollywood category is a little different movie than Mr. and Mrs. Smith. The Departed, Prestige. Like this is the Prestige version of the Mr. and Mrs. Smith, because you have a needle drop. You don't have narration in this one, but the narration is Jack Nicholson, and it's there's so much happening here. You have all the big names. That movie is just jam-packed with stars, and then this is where you have the director as the star as well. It's Martin Scorsese. It is all these huge actors. It is Alec Baldwin, Martin Sheen, Wahlberg, Damon, DiCaprio, Jack Nicholson. I mean, it is just jam-packed. It feels like it's going to be an Oscar movie. It was an Oscar movie. Mm-hmm. So it's another one that I think just is classic Hollywood. You have the needle drop. The music is amazing, and it's like, I don't know. I know this is a crime movie. I know it's Scorsese. I know the stars, but you feel like it's going to be a big deal.
Yeah. And just shipping off to Boston, like, it's going to be set in a specific part of the country, pretty much the people that are going to be involved with it. And that it's going to be fast and it's going to be really impacting it. One thing I think in this genre that is really important to bring up is you see this a lot, even in comedies too, is like that moment or this constant like change in pace in a trailer as well. And this movie is really perfect for that because it has these fast fades to black, then fast fades across for the type people that love editing. I mean, these are like huge transitions that you're seeing. Fades to black, fades across from one scene to another real quick, like, and that's fast. You see so many scenes in this trailer too, and it still has that slow pacing to it with these fades. And then fades to white, even just everything to like keep your eyes moving, taking in as much as possible and seeing as much as possible, even though you might not know how. It doesn't really tell you the plot in the movie, but it does show you everything related to it.
It shows you a little of everything. Like, obviously you don't know the twists and turns of what are to coming, but you see a lot of the movie.
Yeah, you see like literally one of the main characters fall off of a building within this trailer, and you have no idea how it relates to the film. You just know that in that half second, those 15 frames of that somebody's gonna die. Like it and then it quickly goes to something else, some other interaction in that. So that's definitely, especially for the action genre, which really I think in the 90s capitalized on how a trailer should be and what it should feed you. Essentially, this is kind of the perfection of that formula.
Right. And you're adding the prestige element of a famous director, huge stars, dramatic aspect. Mm-hmm. That is a definition of the classic Hollywood. The next category, time to tune your instruments and pluck those strings, because our next category is orchestral. Yeah, you can tell I'm not a musician. Pluck the strings, tickle the ivories, because the orchestra is coming out. Yes, there we go. For listeners, Zach got his ukulele out. He's ready to rock. Maybe we'll get a song later. I can play
some for you guys if you want.
Yeah, maybe narrate me talking about the orchestral themes of the 2000s trailers.
Yeah.
Now orchestra in cinema scores, that is movies. Like, that is, since the origin of film, music or orchestral music has been a part of movies. But this era, I think, is really specific, where they use certain songs, orchestral themes in trailers. There's one specific song where a theme came up multiple times. I'm going to butcher the name, but it's called Lux Aeterna or Aeterna.
Yeah. Aeterna.
Lux Aeterna. It was composed by Clint Mansell for the movie Requiem for a Dream, but it was used in multiple trailers in every student film project throughout the 2000s. It is crazy to see the movies that use this same theme.
We are in the middle of a war to protect a secret so powerful that if revealed, it would devastate the very foundations of mankind.
The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, The Da Vinci Code, and Sunshine, all 2000s movies that use this theme. It's a great theme, but you're starting to see a trend where they would just throw this intense orchestral theme just to add tension to the movie, which is crazy to think about that they would do that for The Two Towers, which has one of the best scores of all time. But they're like, no, people need the hype. We're going to throw this on here. It's shocking to me that it was used multiple times and big movies too. And small movies it's like there was a couple Final Cut Pro projects that used it as well.
I definitely cut to this once for a project, so I get it. I think what you're doing there is you're bringing something that's still new and trendy for the decade just by using that track. But it's used so much that it creates a familiarity, just like we were talking about with classic Hollywood, especially in challenging and new imaging, like
right.
Things that maybe you haven't seen before. Of you there's like maybe a book that's like Lord of the Rings that pairs to it well, but you've never actually seen that on screen. So finally you get to see that on screen. Let's put something underneath that's epic, that really raises your emotions to another level. That's really what that's doing, I think, with that, specifically that score, is trying to take that emotion that you're going to be feeling by seeing something like with your eyes that is so original, and then raising your heart to meet it. I think that's a really big reason why that's so well done. And it builds, it hits to a crescendo really well. And it's not just your tip, it's well composed, and the orchestra used for it is deep, and there's a lot of instrumentation to it as well. So it does have that epic high production feel to it, that especially back then when you didn't have as many big names doing scores. The 2000s is when we really start caring about who scores movies. And it's also with this specific like song, we care about what songs are in trailers, what original songs are in trailers. And yeah, I think that is exactly why we're using that so often. And we eventually spread our wings and move out, but there are a lot of roots back to this specific song. So,
and it's used sometimes at the end, the second half of the trailer. So like the intro will be maybe quieter music, and they're talking about the plot. And then once you get to start, like you mentioned, for the classic Hollywood, where you're doing a lot of the cutting, it's flash, it's the swiping, it's moving up the pace. It adds that score element. And another caveat of why this probably maybe happened, we don't know exactly, is a lot of times they're scoring the movie right at the end. So it's sometimes the last thing that they're doing in a movie. So sometimes they are like, oh, we need an orchestral theme. We're not ready for the Da Vinci Code. Let's throw this one on because we know it works. And that theme is very tight. It's compact, and it fits well for the trailer format. Another one that was in this era that was most famously used for Sherlock Holmes, the Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes, is the posthumous Unstoppable, which is another orchestral theme that I used in a few student projects. But it's another one of my favorite. Again, taking that same idea is let's use a theme that in actually Sherlock Holmes has a great score. I really like the Guy Ritchie score for Sherlock Holmes, but in the trailer they specifically use this song to just add to the environment of what's coming of that movie.
And it just, like I said, it builds to a crescendo, and it just hits well for your movie titles. Like, it just, for if you want to unveil the name of a movie, and just at the top of everything, as everybody's just hitting those really high notes, it's a great way to just let some trailer titles or movie titles just bleed onto the screen in a fun, original, graphically designed way. Like it just adds the perfect pedestal to like this journey that you're going on in the trailers. So watching the trailer.
And especially like Sherlock Holmes obviously it's a very famous character, but it's a new story, it's a new director, so they want it to be fresh but also feel old. So they're using, it's almost this era of Trans-Siberian Orchestra, so it's the like Rocky orchestra, and I think that's part of what was happening in the 2000s. But they can use this song, but the score is not known, so people don't know the Sherlock Holmes theme because the movie hadn't come out yet. Where now we live in a world of IP where maybe people know the Avengers theme, so you can play with that in the next Avengers movie trailer or whatever it may be. After the first Dune movie, you could play with the Dune theme because the first one has come out. But when you're doing these newer movies or start of new franchises or reboots, maybe you want to create some tension, some like iconography without it being earned, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it feels like it's iconic.
Sense.
It feels like you know it, but you really don't, and it draws you in. So it's a really fun trope of this era that I just love, and it hits home as a film student who would take a lot of these themes and put them into their really poorly shot action standard definition digital projects.
Yeah, just as someone who uses music beds often, this category is deep on a lot of music bed stores. So like it created such a inspiration for artists at this later in life that you can just get something very similar. Whereas I mean back in the day, it always taps into the same emotional like part of your brain, like every time that connection's made in the early 2000s by anybody who was watching trailers, and now it still resonates with us even today. I love that
but now there's libraries on libraries of these type of themes, these generic orchestral themes that you can use for any genre, totally accessible. Where back then maybe it wasn't as much like that.
True.
All right, we're moving on to the Reintroduction trailer. So this is before the franchiseification, the cinematic universe. So I'm going to say the Reintroduction trailer. This is including elements of nostalgia of past releases. This is normally a sequel or a reboot to a big franchise, or there's a dramatic reveal of a loved character. And really, you can use a lot of these elements, like we've mentioned, where you're taking a theme, you're taking an idea, a concept, a line to reintroduce a character. Now, when I think about trailers in this era, I think about 2000s. I remember, I don't know what movie it would have been, but it would be probably in 2002, or early 2003, sitting in a theater, and the Revenge of the Sith teaser coming on the screen, and immediate chills as a young kid. This was the third installment of the prequel trilogy for Star Wars. We all knew where this was going.
Yep.
It was going to Darth Vader, and we finally got with this teaser, we got the famous breathing of Darth Vader. And I just remember it just being one of the most seminal moments I ever had in a theater, because this character that we knew was coming, and it was revealed in this teaser, and I wasn't expecting it. Again, it's different. It wasn't online. It wasn't a news story that's alerted on your phone. I was sitting in a movie theater not expecting it, and it happened. And it was like, oh my gosh, Darth Vader coming out next year, or coming out for this third movie. And it's just one that I'll always remember.
For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic, before the Dark Times, before the Empire. A young Jedi named Darth Vader, who was a pupil of mine until he turned to evil, helped the Empire hunt down and destroy the Jedi Knights. Vader was seduced by the dark side of the Force.
Lord Vader.
Yes, Master.
Rise.
Looking at this trailer, it's actually not showing a lot of the movie itself.
No,
it's actually using a lot of pieces from New Hope. It's quoting Alec Guinness in New Hope. It is doing reviews of the initial two prequels and seeing like what we build up to, and it only shows a couple important images for what to expect in episode 3. And I think that's a part of this reintroduction concept is it taps into that nostalgia that we love to talk about so much, you and I, Luke. Like we speak and we have a lot of emotional responses from that, and it makes us really determine, we fixate our judgment, or we think we judge a movie really based on how it matches that nostalgia.
Right.
And this is really trying to stack some blocks for us to be like, you remember this part and this part? Well, here's what we're going to add. We're going to add, you've seen Anakin in episode 2. Here's him with Sith eyes. And then, hey, finally, like, here's the big reveal. You are going to see how Vader becomes Vader. But you're going to see all the little elements that all the bread trail that we've really we've created to get to this spot. And I think that's also like really important for other movies too. A big movie that initially we didn't think would ever have sequels was The Matrix. And then when The Matrix Reloaded came out, what happened with The Matrix is the original Matrix, it bent our understanding of how CGI, fast motion recording, and really this idea of like what a cyberpunk movie is. It changed that genre and really threw it on its head. And then what Reloaded, when they brought that in, it did is it showed everything Neo. It's just Neo.
It's Neo. Neo can do it all.
Yeah. Iconic character, and they show Neo doing even cooler stuff. Like, you saw this, now look at this. We're gonna build on this in different ways. Newer stunts. They're all gonna like defy the genre. And I'm talking about Reloaded, by the way. I'm not talking about any other movie after Revolutions. I'm not talking about that. But when Reloaded came out, it also gave you this idea of, remember that last image in the movie where he just becomes like truly
one of the most ultimate tease of all time. The last shot of the movie is Neo flying into screen, and this trailer ties to that last moment that fans were like holding on to. Exactly.
And that's exactly, we didn't think that would happen, but it is borrowing from that 1999 viewing or whatever you did watch it. Now you get to see it happen even more. You're going to get more of that. Prepare. That's really what that's doing.
Yeah,
and I love
like
that.
It's that oh shit moment at the end of that movie, and it's like, oh, you're going to get more of this. And like you just said, it's why sequels happen, and it's why people get excited about sequels. And trailers for sequels are so tied to that.
Yeah,
and it's critical. And these two examples are 2000 sequels, and it's really interesting to watch these because I think I watch them with a little bit more nostalgic eyes because of what has happened, and we'll get into it later with the superhero genre, with like the sequelization. But these were two sequel trailers or teasers that really was like, I have to see that. Like, I can't believe this is happening. Different stories, different ways that they're revealing, but also building on what had been taking place in the past and what we knew could be possible to come. All right, then we can talk about sequels, reboots, reworkings.
Yep.
One of the most famous ones is Casino Royale.
Your file shows no kills, Bond. But to become a 00, it takes 2. How did you die? Your contact? Not well. You needn't worry. The second is... Yes. Considerably.
The man was Le Chiffre, private banker to the world's terrorists, which would explain how he could set up a high-stakes poker game at Casino Royale in Montenegro. If he loses this game, he'll have nowhere to run. You're the best player in the service.
The Treasury has agreed to stake you in the game. But if you lose, our government will have directly financed terrorism. I will be keeping my eye on our government's money and off your perfectly formed house.
You noticed.
I hope our little game isn't causing you to perspire.
It doesn't bother you killing those people.
Well, I wouldn't be very good at my job if it did.
How's our girl? Melted your cold heart yet?
James, get the girl out.
You're not going to let me in there. You've got your armor back on.
I have have no armor left. You've stripped it from me. Whatever is left of me. Whatever I am. I'm yours.
The only question remains. Will you yield? In time?
Now, this trailer is highly tied to what was happening on the internet.
Okay.
So let's go back to the 2000s.
I don't know this.
Let's go back to the 2000s.
Feed me some facts.
There's Daniel Craig is announced as James Bond. This is mid 2000s internet. The people on there lose their minds. He's short, he's blonde, he's blue-eyed, he looks like a wrestler. This is not our James Bond. Everyone starts freaking out. The press is going crazy in the UK. Daniel Craig is not going to be a good James Bond. People immediately say this is going to be a one-off. This is going to be a George Lazenby, and then we'll get back to tall, dark, and handsome James Bond, blah, 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 blah. Then the Casino Royale trailer comes out, and everything changes. We get this intro, this black and white intro. We see these origins of James Bond making his first kill and becoming a 00, which is such a critical part of the movie, but also it immediately says, this is not your dad's or your granddad's James Bond. This is a new interpretation of the character. We're grounding this character. We're playing off of what's been happening in the action genre with the Bourne franchise. It's going to be gritty. It's going to be tough. It's going to be emotional. We're going to give you some of the tropes. We're going to give you the cars. We're going to give you a little bit of that tease, but this is a different James Bond. And I think this trailer was so critical to the success of Casino Royale and what would happen afterwards. I think it's just such an interesting moment of early internet and just like negative reception of an announcement, and where a trailer can change the mindset of a fanhood.
And you know what I love about the trailer is it starts in black and white, because this is a classic property, and this is an important change in the genre, and specifically the James Bond brand. And I think it does a really great job. I can't remember, is the movie in black and white in the initial stages?
It is. They do black and white. It's the same. The way the trailer goes is exactly how the start of the movie goes, which is great as a viewer when you actually watch it, because it's like, oh, the trailer does give us that. Like it's not trying to mess with us.
Yeah, and I think that's the perfect way to, when you're doing a recast, to superimpose the character onto the actor. I think that's the best way to do that. It's a really great execution from not even just from the start of the movie, from the start of the marketing. And I think that's exactly what this era is, to how big marketing and advertising is really kind of shown in Casino Royale. I didn't know all that backstory and all that like fan dissatisfaction.
It was nasty. It was really bad. And this, I mean, I'm sure there's still some skeptical people, but when they saw the movie, I think a lot of people, there's still fans that didn't necessarily love Daniel Craig, including my parents. But I think objectively, people were like, "Oh, okay, this was different. They were not trying to be the old school James Bond. They were trying to do something different." And I think that trailer helped change the narrative.
Yeah. And I mean, another one that I think kind of matches that in some ways is the Star Trek movie from 2009, really late 2000s, but also the understanding of who Captain Kirk is, because that has been played by one very specific person for so long. And this is an origin story, so you can kind of, and we've seen this happen with like Solo and so many other movies where you just go back in time and make them younger and cast someone that can look similar enough, but at the same time you are updating the character with this new contribution from the actor. But like, I think always going back, like you said, this is James Bond is his first 00 kill, and in Star Trek it's before he even sets up on the Enterprise. Like, those are really great ways to reboot the genre too, is by in the trailer introducing this as we're going to go back to the origins, which in the 2000s was, for any type of fantasy sci-fi movie that had a property already, was really big to do. We got
some try to create an entire series with origins in the title.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Are you talking about Wolverine and X-Men Origins Wolverine, or are you talking about something else? Okay, cool.
Yes. What else would I be talking about?
I mean, I'm sure there's other
with
ones
it
that I
in the
can't think
title.
of.
But it is like, I think, another example of, I remember, because this isn't your dad's Star Trek.
Yep.
I mean, I was a TNG kid, but I did watch the original series growing up, and I think I don't know, I'm not in the Star Trek fan universe, I'm not a Trekkie, but I think there was a lot of caution around recasting William Shatner.
Yeah.
But this trailer, again, is another, just punches it in your face like, hey, this is action, this is high intensity, this is youth, this is energy, this is not slow, this is moving quick, there's battles, this is, and it's also, this is the guy that eventually gets every girl alien that is in every episode of Star Trek. Like, who's that young kid who's Kirk before he gets the Enterprise?
Really taking like one episode from original Star Trek and just expanding that entire world to be like, yeah, he'll kiss any alien, it doesn't matter. Like, he did it in that one episode. He does it all the time. Yeah, this shows you his full count of aliens that he's kissed, kind of thing.
I remember this trailer also being exciting too. I remember watching it with my family, and it was like, oh, we want to see that as a family. Like, I was excited, and I love Star Trek TNG. I was a bigger Star Wars fan than Star Trek fan, but I was really excited about this. And I wasn't necessarily a huge fan of the original Star Trek, but this got me excited because I was like, oh, I know who J.J. Abrams is. I like him as a director. I want to do something like I'm pumped about this. This is like my Star Trek. Like, this is for me. Like, this is what I want. And it got me excited to go to the theater and watch it.
I think it was between Star Trek and Star Wars, they were made specifically for you, Luke.
Yes. I know they were thinking of me. No other people. It was one. It was a mono
JJ's just
property.
like, I know this one guy named Luke Ferris.
He likes Mission Impossible 3. He likes Alias.
Yeah,
he's gonna love this
make
Star
the
Trek.
big fantasy sci-fi properties also for him. So, and I think even today, obviously you're gonna see that. I think going forward after the 2000s, even this year, you just talked about how Star Wars the original teaser was. Have you seen the new Spaceballs original teaser and how close it is to that? Then, it's just credit crawls. They don't show anything. They're still shooting it. But it is just stars and credit cards, because it is literally like not only borrowing from Spaceballs and that property, which is a big scene copy of a lot of Star Wars, New Hope, but also apparently, just based on your description of the original Star Wars trailer, even the original reveal for Star Wars. I think that's like that reintroduction. You need to borrow from something that you already know. You can't just... I saw this like a short film about Pac-Man, and it was not Pac-Man. It just tried to, I'm not kidding you. It's on like Amazon. It's Secret Level is what that show's called.
Wow.
And they do like different episodes of video game properties. And one was about Pac-Man. It's not. I didn't even get it. Like, I didn't even understand it was Pac-Man until like the credits at the end started. I had to look it up on Wiki. It was like, what the heck is this about? And that is not how you successfully reboot something.
Yes. Yeah.
This is the way. It is the tried and true way to bring those fans back to something that they love and make them fall in love yet again. So, yeah, I love the Reintroduction trailer. Although
I
I'm
do too.
origin fatigued and all that stuff after 20 years of it, I do love it still.
Yes. All right, let's move on to our next category, the monologue trailer. Now, this is a big change. We talked about the voiceover aspect, where maybe they're including voiceover to tell you what's going on in the movie. Then they'll maybe include some clips and some scenes and some lines in the movie. This is where we're getting a chunk of dialogue from the movie. Maybe it's cut together, but it's really highlighting, one, typically with the actor that's saying the monologue, the soliloquy, the lines, and two, it either framing the story or drawing you in with the performance. It's a very unique shift that starts to happen in this era, and there's a bunch of them that we'll talk about. But I think this is one of the most fascinating trends and shifts in the 2000s.
Mm-hmm. Really what it's doing is it's taking a snippet from the film, something very interesting, something probably that's going to be that even like producers understand will go down in history as something really notable from this film that you're going to quote, that you're going to remember, and present that as the banner for the film. And usually it's a monologue. Usually it's our main character or one of our main supporting characters, but really just cutting out a piece of dialogue and then matching image to that. Doesn't necessarily have to be straight from the scene for the film as the dialogue's being presented, but sometimes you do get like the main character in the scene, like actually presenting that dialogue, and then we kind of jump around to other scenes in the film. But it does present, and the most important part, it might be a quote that resonates with you for, you know, the rest of your life, but also thematically it matches to a T what maybe we're trying to get at from the plot or something like that, that you're going to be able to take away something with. And I think that's really big for the monologue. It's not just a guy talking. It's usually you're also having like a little sub-structured plot in there too.
Right.
You're getting a little mini movie, if you will. A lot of short films follow that structure as well in the 2000s, and things that I really love to ingest. Sometimes it is just going off of a monologue and then cutting different scenes. And so yeah, I think the monologue trailer is one that we hadn't seen either. It's the exact opposite of our classic Hollywood trailer too. It's classic Hollywood trailer. You get that quick bite, but they don't relate to each other. We're jumping around across the movie. We're never centered in any way, shape, or form. Monologue is the exact opposite. We center on something like the dialogue and possibly like a key scene, and we cut out to things that really do relate to what we're thematically hearing.
To reinforce it. It's almost like that idea that it's the idea. Here's the idea that we're showing in the movie in this dialogue. Here's the piece of the idea of what the movie is. And a lot of times you said it's showing the story, the 3-act structure. But this is the idea versus Pitt, Jolie, sexy, guns, spies, coming soon.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is really, we're trying to get more than just your like adrenaline up kind of emotion. A lot of times people walk away with a thought or an emotion that's a little different. Like maybe they're inspired. And I think like a couple of the movies that we've highlighted do bring that, or you walk away uneasy or like a little dissonant from like what you would normally go see a movie for, you know, not just to, I think for higher thought movies, this is really a great method to market your movies by using the monologue trailer. Because a lot of indie movies we've seen actually kind of follow this.
Right. Absolutely.
The structure. So, and that's a lot what indie movies is to make you feel a little bit different than what your conventional film is.
I would say for those watching on YouTube, these monologue trailers are typically when I'm in the theater with a friend or Audrey. It's the face where I'm watching the movie, and then I turn to you and I go, inquisitive, like, I think I'll try that. That looks good. Like it's like, I don't know, but like I think I'm interested. So that's kind of why I feel like when a lot of these monologue trailers. The first one I want to highlight, it was an Oscar-nominated movie, really talking about the 2000s, especially the late 2000s with the recession. It's up in the air. And this uses one of the most famous monologues in the movie, which I think is right at the start. It's the Sharks monologue from George Clooney, where he's basically describing the difference between salespeople or intense business people that travel and normal people. And it tells you everything you need to know about what the tone of the movie is going to be.
Make no mistake, moving is living. Some animals were meant to carry each other, to live symbiotically over a lifetime. Star-crossed lovers, monogamous swans. We are not swans. We're sharks.
And it sets it up almost like this kind of like nice fun. It's George Clooney. It's his voice. You trust him. And then it's like, no, we're sharks at the end. And it's like, oh, this isn't going to be happy Ocean's 11 George Clooney. This is going to be something different.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, especially for Up in the Air, that's kind of what you needed to do there. It's not an action-y movie. It's not going to give you, like, if you cut around on dialogue, it's just going to look like a conventional movie that maybe won't get the right crowd, to go see it.
Right.
But there's a reason why that movie is so successful. I think the trailer really brings the tone correctly to that, so that sets expectations. That's what you want to do with a trailer, is just set expectations for, okay, you're going to see something conventional, or you're going to see something that makes you feel a little weird in a different way, that makes you look over to Audrey and be like,
I like George Clooney. I don't know about this. This looks interesting.
Yeah, this is
like Anna Kendrick. I like George Clooney. Yeah, this isn't Batman and Robin. You need to chill.
Yeah.
Very different than Up in the Air.
Yeah.
And also talking about Ocean's 11, George Clooney's co-lead in that movie. It's Inglourious Bastards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What a trailer, man.
My name is Lieutenant Aldo Rain. And I need me 8 soldiers. We're gonna be dropped into France dressed as civilians. We're gonna be doing one thing only. Killing Nazis.
Yes, sir!
Members of the National Socialist Party conquered Europe through murder, torture, intimidation, and terror. And that's exactly what we're gonna do to them. We will be cruel to the German. And through our cruelty, they will know who we are. They will find the evidence of our cruelty in the disemboweled, dismembered, and disfigured bodies of their brothers we leave behind us. And the German will not be able to help themselves from imagining the cruelty their brothers endured at our hands, and our boot heels, and the edge of our knives. And the German will be sickened by us. The German will talk about us. And the German will fear us. Nazi ain't got no humanity. And they need to be destroyed. Each and every man under my command owes me 100 Nazi scalps. And I want my scalps.
9999999.
Sound good?
Yes, sir!
God.
This is not only just one of the best trailers in the 2000s. I think this is one of the best trailers of all time. We know it's Quentin Tarantino. We know we're getting something different. I just remember this being so viscerally unique, and you're taking somebody that is, at this point, we're talking about, this is only a couple of years after Mr. and Mrs. Smith. We're contrasting the two types of trailers. The most Hollywood big trailer, traditional trailer, and then we get this monologue trailer with Inglourious Bastards. We see Brad Pitt, scarred up, has this goofy backwoods accent, talking about killing Nazis. And we know we're in for something totally different. It is just that scene when he's facing the bastards and he's kind of telling basically the marching orders, here's what the movie is about. And I just remember watching that trailer and just being, this is going to be something I've never seen before. And it was.
Yeah. And it's also kind of, I think that's big about using monologues. It also reflects the tone of the director a lot of times.
Yes.
Obviously, they're very invested
to be fair,
in how that delivery is.
Yeah, some directors care about the trailers. Christopher Nolan cares. Some of these directors, Tarantino cares. Some don't. Or have control. Some don't even have control over it. because it's a lot of times a third party that does it. So sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No, you're right on the ball, I think, with that. And it's with Inglourious Bastards, you get that it is snarky in some ways as much as it is like serious and trying to ramp you up. It also shows like this undertone that carries in a lot of Tarantino movies. Before you even flash Tarantino at the end of that trailer, you know that it's a director that presents movies in a very self-aware way, because of how they are presenting Brad Pitt and the group together, and also the dialogue. It's very Tarantino. So you get that taste, and you're immediately like it connects some synapses in your brain if you're a fan or aware of Tarantino and how his movies go. So it's also a good pick. It's one of the best ones to also market a very different movie for that time. We weren't making a lot of World War II movies that were successful, and they weren't successful because they were typically your standard World War II movie like Pearl Harbor. Like that one wasn't a great movie, and that was we had a big break from that to this,
because the late 90s really there's 2 Steven Spielberg movies about World War II in the 90s. And then Band of Brothers in the early aughts. And that was like, okay, we're done with the World War II movies. We can't do them better than that. That's it.
Exactly.
And then this comes along later, and you're like, this is totally different than anything you're used to seeing. And then to have Brad Pitt be the face, this iconic face, this big movie star, and it's so different. We always, they always say Brad Pitt is a character actor stuck in a leading man's body. And this is a definition of that phrase when describing Brad Pitt.
Yeah, I agree. I very much agree. It's a good movie. It just matches really well. It took me to the movie theaters, I remember. So
absolutely. Okay, another action movie that, speaking of Schindler's List, Taken. Oh my goodness. Taken on its surface.
Yeah.
Okay, we all know the sequels, the Liam Neeson arc post Taken of him doing action movies at a rate unknown to man. This first Taken trailer is incredible because it has the most famous monologue from the movie and the franchise and in action movies. Like one of the most famous monologues in movie history. I will find you, I'll hunt you down, and kill you on the cell phone. So I just think that we had to mention this when we're talking about the 2000s. And this is a movie where obviously Liam Neeson's a big star. Everyone knows him. But it's not this like big franchise. It's not Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
This movie is selling you on the plot. He's a former spy. His daughter gets taken, and he's going to go get her. And that's all you need to know. I mean, there's other parts of the movie, but that trailer just sets it up. It's like, this is an enticing, thrilling action plot. I trust Liam Neeson. He's a trustworthy actor. He has gravitas. This might be good.
Yeah.
And it was.
In a world full of these types of movies at that point in 2000s history, like there was just so many of these that happened before and after. The Taken, like it just anchors Taken. It anchors what that movie is as the cream of the crop for that specific subgenre
of B. Let's say what it is. It's B action. It's not huge budget action. It's like John Travolta was doing these movies, started doing these movies in the 2000s. Yeah. I mean, it was Bruce Willis started to do them later in his career. It's that B-level action movie, almost straight to DVD, released in February. And Taken is kind of the rare cream of the crop where it made a lot of money and was very successful. And I think this monologue says it all.
It's memeable. Like nowadays we know it's memeable, just like John Wick in the 2010s is going to be like, my wife is dead. My car is ruined. They killed my dog. I need to get revenge. It is a value proposition from the very beginning. And you're just saying it in scene, in dialogue. And it's the best. It's sometimes the best way of delivery is clear cut, straight from the mouth of your character, rather than trying to doctor up a bunch of flashy images with it. And even in the Taken trailer, it is the anchor through from like 30 seconds in all the way to the end of that 2-minute trailer. Like they keep splicing back to Liam Neeson continuing his monologue, and then they'll jump out to another scene really quick. But that is the anchor through that trailer. You know what it's about. You're going to go see it just for that. and that's
Good
guaranteed.
luck. Yeah,
Good
it
luck.
ends with a tag. Good luck. It's like, okay, I'm ready to go. I want to see that movie. It's just it's ones that just always stands out to me as in the action genre. We think about these big bombastic trailers. This one's pretty simple when you think about it, and it's using that monologue format to get that message across.
Yeah, and the value proposition idea, I think, really flows really well into one movie that I want to mention, and that is There Will Be Blood, the most obscure, boring movie on the surface possible.
Yes.
But Daniel Day-Lewis, it just sits and does literally his business proposition to a group of people. That is the scene. It's a pretty famous scene, other than drink your milkshake. I wish they do put a little bit in the scene, like there's a flash of it in the trailer, but I am this person. This is my son. I'm an oil man. I'm going to make you rich. Who wants to get in? That is not only talking to the people in the movie, in that scene, but also like it's appealing to the people watching that trailer in the movie theater too. And it's also done in a way where it's very flat. The music's not really trying. It's almost setting up a short film in itself in that trailer.
Right.
So you do get that 3-act structure we were talking about earlier, in a very strong way.
It introduces Paul Dano's character. It introduces the tension of trying to get the oil. We see the images of the rig burning. It's kind of how it's all falling apart. We get that structure, but it's still like pretty stripped down, ambiguous of what's going on.
Yeah, and it's a character actor in a character-based, strongly character-led movie, and you are going to go see the movie for that beautiful, beautiful mustache, those very, very pointed almost black eyes, and that hat that you see on like the cover of that DVD. Like, you are going to see it for Daniel Day-Lewis's character. Here's what he's going to be doing. Come watch it with us in a couple of months.
And it leaves you on that line of where he says, these people, and he's got that smirk that I don't even know how to describe it. So you're left with the kind of that icky, like, what is going on here? Is he our hero? Is he not?
Yeah.
We know it's just going to be really good acting, and here we go.
Yeah, you get to see an anti-hero, and this is what we're setting up for you. People love those types of movies too.
All right, our last but not least category. We couldn't find a better title than the "I haven't seen this before" trailer.
We didn't do that work, did we?
No, we didn't.
Like, there's got to be a better title for this.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great one. It is. We started to see trailers really get experimental. This has happened throughout the history of trailers, but really go left field, because this is when trailers get to start being watched over and over again. They start to be shared. They start to be part of these releases of these properties. This is where indie movies have to stand out and be experimental. This is where the consumption of trailers transitions from your butts in a theater to where you're watching it on your Dell desktop and you're emailing it to your friend or posting it on their Facebook wall. This is where it starts to change, and I think we start to see experimentation happen and changes happen in the oddies with some of these examples.
Yeah, and we're not talking about like avant-garde, like these art house films. Like these are movies that honestly went down in history as big blockbuster films or Oscar films, but really what they want to do is they want to take a new approach to it in its presentation. So like during this time, we were also in society watching a lot of interesting stuff like mystery box TV shows. Like Lost is probably the most famous one of these, but there were a bunch of them popping up. And then we started seeing them. And I think a significant thing is that like our generation as a whole was really enticed by that. And I think marketing wanted to also try and reflect and pull us in the same ways of like, keeping us watching the trailer or the teaser and then into the trailer, because initially teasers were just like, hey, this movie, it's like a flying the flag, and then the trailer would be the big banner. So we started actually experimenting in how we would present teasers, and then also our trailers would also be presented in a very different original presentation. I think Monologue could also fit into this genre.
Yeah, definitely.
But the Monologue trailer is so strong on its own and was kind of doing itself. Whereas this, I haven't seen this before trailer category, it's all over the place. It can come in from one angle, like in Little Children, where it is specifically just images with wind underneath it. There's no plot. You just know that Kate Winslet's in it and that the movie's called Little Children. Or you could also do this with Serious Man, where the initial first scenes of the trailer, the main character's getting his head beat into the wall, and then the rhythm of that beat into the wall becomes the actual score for the trailer.
Larry, we've received a number of letters denigrating you and urging us not to grant you tenure.
I need help.
We're gonna be fine.
I've tried to be a serious man.
We're gonna be fine.
Tried to do right, be a member of the community.
We're gonna be fine.
Please, just tell him I need help. Please.
We're gonna be fine.
I need help.
We're gonna be fine.
So doing something a little bit more experimental and kind of be the vehicle to propel you through the trailer itself is interesting and new. So it could go that route, or it could be a total different presentation of how we want to do a trailer. So, I mean, there's other ways to do it. Like, you can go more narrative, but just make it look like an actual short film, kind of like the opening of Cloverfield. Like that movie,
a seminal 2000s movie.
That movie that trailer fools you initially. You think you are just you're getting like, you're always expecting like it to hit in a world, but it never does. It's just this it is exactly what the movie is found footage, but we hadn't seen anything as close to that genre between Blair Witch and Cloverfield, as it was a revisit of the genre itself. When we did Blair Witch and it was really successful, there were some copycats, it really fell off, and then we're like, oh, we can do this for
a different genre,
genre that was incredibly mystery box throughout the whole advertising campaign for it. Even when you were like, that also had a website, and you would go to it and there was like clues about how like the monster, like what the monster looked like in there and stuff like that. People would look at the trailer just to try and get a glimpse of what the Cloverfield monster actually looked like.
Right. This is when the frame by frame starts to happen, which we see nowadays. It's we've done it here on Least Important Things with the Jurassic trailers, where you're frame by frame is like, is that an InGen poster? Is that Biosyn? Yeah, it starts to happen here, and Cloverfield's a great example of that.
Yeah, we reach out our hand to offer you what this movie is like. You get to see it in a different way, but we're not going to tell you everything. Very much that mystery box again. So that's definitely one element that you might see in this I haven't seen this before trailer category.
Yeah, shout out to Curtis Felton, friend of the show. Not only did he love this trailer for Cloverfield, I'd have to text him. I think he saw Cloverfield like 5 times in the theaters. Like, he brought people, like he was evangelizing this movie because it was such a mystery, and it was like, found footage, is it just Blair Witch again? No, and he was all in on this movie. But it was, again, like you said, we needed something different. We needed mystery. It wasn't good enough just to have Pitt, Jolie action movie. It's like, we need to do something different, even with big budget movies, and incorporate that multimedia aspect. Speaking of like big budget, when we're talking about marketing, I have to throw in Transformers here. Not because I'm a huge fan of this movie, but it is part of this trend that we start to see where you're taking an 80s property, it's essentially a toy. And I remember when reports came out about this movie, and it was like, they can't make a Transformers movie. There's no way. They're like, there's no way they can make this interesting. It's going to be stupid. And then this trailer dropped, and it was like, wow, this looks intense. This looks exciting. And it doesn't look stupid. It feels fresh. And plus, we have to mention, I mean, what's more late 2000s, mid 2000s than Shia LaBeouf wearing a Strokes t-shirt in a Transformers movie next to Megan Fox? I mean, that is...
that seems so cliche now, but it was so original back in the day. And that movie, that trailer specifically, breaks a little bit from our classical Hollywood category as well, because it takes a moment to watch. A trailer didn't do that before. So when they reveal Optimus actually transforming from his vehicle form into his transformer form in all its glory, they stop both characters just like you would in the movie. You're not normally doing that in a trailer. Time is valuable in a trailer, but they take that moment to show that awe because you are also supposed to feel that awe. And I think that's big for the fantasy sci-fi genres. We're seeing a lot of that as we're pulling stuff up. I mean, Serious Man is a Coen Brothers movie too, so they challenge the drama genre as much as they do as any other like genre is always challenging itself. But like we're seeing a lot of that. I've never seen this before start happening for fantasy and sci-fi trailers, which I think is always a vehicle to change the game. It's just by definition those two movie genres are always doing that in their content, but also we're starting to see that how they're advertised as well. It's a big difference from like this movie versus like Battlefield Earth Travolta into a Travolta. Like that is like a traditional, like a sci-fi movie presented as an action movie. This is presented as wonder, awe, and all of its glory, something new that your eyes are going to feast, challenging the technicality of what film is doing, and also delivering some fan service at the same time. So taking that break in a trailer is there's a lot built into that, I think.
That's a great point. I never really thought of that, where the trailers, it's saying stop and look at this. Mm-hmm. It's a huge trope in trailers from this point on. It's every big sci-fi movie has a scene where they're revealing a character, revealing a moment. Maybe we know it's IP and it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. That is in all genre trailers now. But that's a great point. And I remember like the slow-mo of the Transformer in the desert with the soldiers. Like there is these moments where it's like, holy, that looks amazing. I can't believe they're doing this. And it's a trope that continues on, and it's all part of that. You either have an expectation or you've never seen it before, or here's this reveal, this character's in this movie, which is really starts to happen. Okay, we're getting into the genre filmmaking. We can't talk about the 2000s, the change of the 2000s, without talking about the superhero genre. Zach, this is highly personal to us, but we have 3 trailers, all unique, but really changed superhero cinema forever.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about how Spider-Man kicked off this decade, right? It was already challenging it. But as we progress past 2005, we get over the initial hump of what Marvel was trying to do. There are setbacks with, with Fantastic Four. By now, towards the end of the decade, Spider-Man had kind of fizzled out as well. We had Spider-Man
they'd done
3, what a bummer.
Yeah. So
we
talk
started,
about that's a whole different genre. Trailers I was excited for and was disappointed in the theaters. X-Men 3, Spider-Man 3.
I can't even tell you. Oh God, don't even. Oh man, be still my heart.
I can do his hair. I'm going to put those on YouTube.
That's actually your hair's got the right length.
I'm almost there. Maybe that could be a Halloween costume.
Yeah, but then we start like branching out from our convention. What we've been seeing with like X-Men properties and all these things. Watchmen is a property that is not well known and needed to be delivered in a cautious and very you had to have your audience be open to a new experience with it, because it is not a conventional superhero film.
We can save this world.
Why would I save a world I no longer have any stake in?
Do it for me.
whisper. No.
The trailer for Watchmen is really important because, one, it presents scenes in awe, like we were talking about in Transformers. A lot of the scenes that you see are slower. They are like these interesting zooms from like a medium shot to a wide shot to show the landscape or something that Dr. Manhattan's creating. We are slower in our tone, and it matches with something that actually, like a score piece that doesn't normally, you wouldn't match with a superhero genre. So
No,
a smashing
it is not
pumpkin song-
heroic. Yeah, this is where adding a song, whether it's an indie song, it's not just like generic rock song. Well, it might be, but it's taking a song that we know, either changing it, altering it, or having the contrast of the pairing.
Yeah, and that the beginning is the end is the beginning, I believe, is the song for that. I might be totally wrong on that title, but I've listened to that song so many times after the fact. Just like a lot of trailer songs actually go into my Spotify playlist these days.
Yes.
And that one it's actually redone specifically, I think, in this era, and maybe for the trailer specifically, but it matches this weird tone that Watchmen could be. You have no idea about, your modern viewer has no idea.
Yeah, I was a comic book movie fan, but I had no idea what Watchmen was because it was a more adult movie. And we do have to mention, like, Zack Snyder. This is one of his movies. I almost put 300 on this list. That was another kind of like, I haven't seen this before type of trailer. Yeah. That was shocking. But I think Watchmen is like a little bit more elevated, and it adds that musical element that really started to change how trailers were.
Mm-hmm. Studios were taking big risks in the late 2000s. They knew that they had gold in the properties that they were going to be borrowing from to put on screen, but it was going to be a big lift to make the connection to the fans.
And the general audience. How can you get a general audience go to a niche graphic novel? How can you go to a not as celebrated comic book character? How do you do this in a different era? But yes, they had opportunities to really go big.
Yeah,
and Watchmen the trailers were the way to do it.
Yeah, you're right. Watchmen did it okay, but there are a lot of other movies that did it better. And I think we need to recognize those. Watchmen presented it well. The reviews are out. 15 years later, it's all right. But there are ones that actually set the pace for so much going to the next decade. And I think that's where we really need to talk. I think.
Yes, we're flirting around these two. Yeah. We'll start with one.
Yeah.
Let's go back in time. We were talking about the context of the 2000s. Spider-Man 3, X-Men 3 struggle. Disappointing with fans, maybe have been reclaimed since. 2 Hulk movies from Marvel. Where do they go? The Fantastic Four's not doing well. Who do they turn to? They turn to an actor. They turn to a director that had never done an action movie like this, and they take a risk.
Yeah.
On a character that is not that well known to general audiences, and not even like a top character in Marvel.
Yeah.
But what happens changes cinema history in the world. It is Iron Man.
Mr. Stark, you've been called the Da Vinci of our time. What do you say to that?
Absolutely ridiculous. I don't paint.
What do you say to your other nickname, the Merchant of Death?
That's not bad.
They say the best weapon is one you never have to fire. I prefer the weapon you only need to fire once. That's how Dad did it. That's how America does it. And it's worked out pretty well so far. To peace.
Is it cool if I take a picture with you?
Yes, it's very cool. I don't want to see this on your MySpace page. Please, no gang signs. No, throw it up. I'm kidding. I'm working on something big.
Iron Man not known. You could pick out Hulk and Captain America, Spider-Man, the X-Men. We knew those people all the way from the 90s. Iron Man was just some guy in armor.
He was and he was typically like, I remember Marvel coloring books as a kid, and it was like Iron Man was like in the corner.
Yeah,
and it was like, oh, he's red and he's yellow and red, so it was easy to color in. That was it.
Yeah, you didn't know who he was, what his powers was, who was behind the mask, and that's what they do in this film. Is they start with
Tony Stark,
and they don't even show him in Iron Man gear. What do they call it? Suit. He didn't even show his suit until it's been a while. I lost my copy of the DVD years ago, and I haven't rewatched. So watching these trailers over again. That's one that I need to go back and watch that movie because of how it's presented in the beginning of that movie. Perfect. Love what they're doing with that when they're just laying out who Tony Stark is. And now think about it, like 15 years later. Endgame, we've had that whole Tony Stark arc happen. We're really fortunate to be able to be here and looking back even years after like Endgame and stuff like that. Not a big fan, by the way, of the Marvel stuff, but like there is that appreciation for that character arc and where it started in this desert, and as this man is like a warmonger presenting his missiles.
It was a huge risk. And Robert Downey was on his comeback. He was kind of radioactive in Hollywood. And it's interesting. I think you can watch it. There's resurfaced. I think he had already gotten the part, but there was test footage of that scene with the reporter.
Yeah.
When they're doing test screenings for Robert Downey as Tony Stark. And it's funny that the trailer, I just watched that, and it's funny that the trailer has that sequence at the start where the reporter's asking him questions of like, some say you're the next Leonardo da Vinci, and he's like, well, that's a preposterous. I'm not a painter.
Yeah.
And you just know the character immediately. I also think I haven't seen this before, is we have the charisma of Tony Stark. We understand that. And then the suit, we get the V1 suit when he's getting out of the cave in the desert. And then once we see a kind of a dark shot of the suit, and then once we see, again, where you're mentioning that the movie's going to pause and reveal, when we see him flying in the suit next to the jets, I just remember that being like, this is unlike anything I've ever seen.
It's when you bring it up too, it's interesting how we juxtapose that in such realistic and relatable images that we're seeing in the media already too. Like, he is a war machine, for lack of using another character from that property.
Yes.
He is a war machine. It really fits in well with the era that we're at, mid Iraq war, WMDs have been used for a lot.
Yes,
so we
really all very fresh.
Yeah, really had built a lot of the setting that we're seeing in that teaser. We've seen it all over, and it's interesting to see a hero actually not in like just like their fantasy land, but actually in the same kind of images. Well, yeah, in the same images that we're seeing on TV, at least. See things that we're seeing on the news. It kind of crosses into a different genre in that way too. I think that's something that eventually we'll see with other films where it's like, oh, this is a movie, and also like the viewers at home are watching it on TV. Iron Man is like throughout his entire tenure in the Marvel universe, he's a very like televised character and very well followed, I think, in that entire world. People know who he is and who he is out of the suit as well as in the suit. And I think that really is like, you're seeing that in the trailer too a lot.
Yeah, we're seeing it's just as important to know who Tony Stark is than the man in the suit. Plus, we get the I Am Iron Man Black Sabbath at the end. I mean, just like it's like you're getting this, but it's like, yes, the song is coming in and we're feeling it, and it's like, okay, I'm ready to go. Yeah. This is something that's gonna be unique.
And paired with a really original sound effect from those his hand blasters, like
the hand blasters,
and it's like important to the mix of that sound. You have the obviously the score, and then it's well matched with these like sound effects with a really cool effect that honestly all of us want to be able to just blast things out of our hands. I think secretly, right? That's not just me. And you're like, oh, you will remember that sound for the rest of your life, and because it's backed by the score and such a strong image. So,
all right, another important film that came out in the same genre from a different comic book publisher.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're tonight's entertainment. Well, hello, beautiful. You look nervous.
I've seen now what would have to become to stop men like him.
The night is darkest just before the dawn. And I promise you, the dawn is coming.
And here we go.
This city deserves a better class of criminal. And I'm gonna give it to him. No! You'll see. I'll show you. You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Will you be wanting the back putt, sir?
In the middle of the day, Alfred? Not very subtle.
The Lamborghini, then.
Much more subtle.
It is, I think, a fitting way to wrap up our discussion here, and I haven't seen this before. We, of course, had Batman Begins.
Yeah.
That changed how Batman was viewed. It really resurrected the character. It grounded it and brought it to new heights. I remember this time. I remember Heath Ledger was cast as the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being confused of like, Heath Ledger from A Knight's Tale? What is going on? How is this going to work? Then shout out to Jeff, my sister's boyfriend at the time, who showed me this trailer on YouTube. I think we probably had to wait a while for it to load, or it might have been on imdb.com or something.
Oh, God, those are the worst to load.
Oh, they took forever to load. Watching this on our Dell computer in our basement, he was like, you have to see it. You have to see this trailer. Because I hadn't seen it in the theaters, and seeing what not only The Dark Knight bringing Batman back and another sequel, seeing the Joker really changed my life because it changed how I saw movies. It made me want to go to this movie, and that day changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else to say, Zach.
I think you also have to talk about two other big things. Is they have these wide sweeping images in this movie. They're not the fast parts of this movie. There are a lot of those injected, and there's a lot of the classic film formula is in here.
Yes,
but it's between these bigger iconic images that we remember a lot more. Even like these weird fades or fades to black and stuff like that that we were talking about in Mr. and Mrs. Smith or The Departed. You're seeing some of those elements here. There's a scattering of the imagery, but then it lingers on these iconic things, these big aerial shots, or the semi truck getting flipped.
Yes.
It doesn't. It holds for a moment longer because these are the things you're going to remember. On top of that, we get one very important musical piece that will follow us for decades to come in the presentation of trailers. And that is, do it with me, Luke, if you don't mind, the
Wow.
And that is a meme in itself. That is, I think, if we want to talk about, they've never done this before, that is the piece of the jigsaw puzzle that will continue to complete trailers for a whole entire decade. Not only just Nolan trailers, because you do see that very strongly in like Inception in the 2010s, but also off-brand non-superhero anything that might have like it's the big hit piece, right? Like this is when you see the title or you see something incredible. This is the thing this is the sound that's gonna sell it, along with the big image that's gonna sell it. And we still to this day, it just when we see something incredible, we'll go brah, like a mindfuck moment, right? So
it is so true. That is, and I think that's a really good way for us to end this conversation is that hit. And we could talk about how I mean I love the reveal of the Joker because we know it's coming and we're like, where's the Joker? And then again, seeing that makeup, being like, where's Heath Ledger? I don't see him. All that is part of that trailer. The shots of Chicago. It's just, but it's that hit.
Yeah,
takes us from the start of the 2000s in a world to what would happen in the next decade and beyond to what we're seeing still today with movies.
Yeah.
And in trailers for movies. It's just a really good build up and the big shift of what's to come moving on into the 2010s. So I think that's a great way to end our conversation. And I hadn't seen this before category. Any last thoughts, Zach, on the 2000s trailers? What I really want to know, what does this era mean to you specifically with movie trailers?
After doing all this research and having lived through it too, I didn't realize how big of an inflection point this decade is to influence our movie going forward. Specifically, holy crap, 2008 was such a good year.
Yeah.
Such a good year, not for just movies. Yes, all these movies came out. I remember I was 18. I was watching all these things. I was going to all these things. I worked at the movie theater at this time, and I was just like, these trailers were playing behind me.
You were living the trailer life.
Yeah, I remember The Dark Knight, this deep bass, brum, brum, like playing nonstop. I almost didn't see the movie because of that. That would have sucked. But like, it was just nonstop. But how important from a trailer like genre that year was, and everything that like from 2000s on was building. The trailer genre wanted to change, and it needed to change as we were changing very significantly that year, that decade. And it really created roots that I think are the strong foundations for the last 20 years. Like it hasn't really changed as significantly as it did from like 2005 and like really peaked in like 2008, 2009. It hasn't been that big of a change in the trailer presentation since then. I feel we might get into that very soon, but I think we were at a very big inflection point there. And I feel really lucky to be able to have seen those things in the big screen genre. In the big screen presentation back then. It's so certainly changed now. How we talk about teasers and how we use trailers has changed so much, but all that catalyst really was in this decade. And I think that nostalgia we were talking about, we have so much nostalgia on this show. I usually bring it to the table all the time for you.
And we appreciate
Luke.
it.
Thank you. That is what trailers mean to me in this decade, is being able to like really look at something and opening your eyes and really being like, whoa, this was so impacting. This was so important for just how we actually sell a movie to people.
That's beautiful, man. I totally agree. And just seeing that change, and it's tied to the internet. We talk about The Dark Knight. I remember the marketing materials online, the clues, all that Jokerification of everything.
Yeah.
The spray paint smiley face on signs. Like it all started to happen. And what we saw was that expansion of not just a singular trailer in a theater during peak season, but what a rollout of a trailer experience can be. And I totally agree. This decade really shifted how we engage with the buildup of movies, and we're still seeing it today.
And we don't see that classic Hollywood format nearly as much anymore. We kind of made it go extinct. Like, it's kind of crazy how In a World is not used in anything except ironically. except like in maybe some sarcastic presentation of it, or nostalgically, like remember this 30-year decade from the 70s to the late 90s, early 2000s, where we just said in the world in front of everything. No, now it's like at the end of the trailer, you gotta go brah.
Yes.
You gotta go brah. If you're not going brah, I'm not gonna go see the movie.
Bra or nothing. That's what the marketing executives say. We need a couple more of those in that trailer. That's what they're saying in those meetings.
Or can we please put like 5 more bras? That does become the thing. Like eventually,
it does. Yes.
Movie trailers that do
we
that.
need 10 more of those, and they just jam it back. But that's getting into the 2010s, Zach, and maybe we'll talk about that in a future episode. Zach, thank you again for going on this walk through the aughts and specifically in trailers. Friends, next week we are going to take a break from movies and talk about rivalries in sports. But after that, we'll get back into movies. And Zach, would you like to come back and bring us? I know we forced you to do a lot of sequels, a lot of rough movies, but would you come back and bring your own movie to do a rewatch with us?
Really?
Yes, I you know what? I feel bad. If you're a listener, a fan of the show, Zach has done the Lord's work on a many challenging sequels, but that have become some of our fan favorite episodes. But there's been some legacy sequels that have been tough slogs, I would say. So I want to just return the favor. It's a new season, new weekly episodes. I want to let you, Zach, have carte blanche.
You've really screwed me over the last couple of years, Luke, with bringing me on. I would love to come back and really throw it back in your guys' face. I've got an idea. Okay.
Listeners.
I think it's gonna match. I think with a lot of stuff that we've talked about in the past. But yeah, okay, cool. I'll definitely come back then. Yeah.
Okay, we can't wait to have you back, Zach. Thank you, friends, for listening and watching. We'll be back next week, talk about rivalries, and then a surprise movie from Zach. Until then, we'll talk to you soon.